if you think you know which way it's going to go, make your bet at Sports Interaction. Guys, Super Bowl 57.
What is that?
Woo! You never heard of the Super Bowl?
No.
It's a bowl and it's super.
I've never heard of 57.
Check it out. You can get all the action at Sports Interaction. Pre-game, live and play. Prop bets are great. My favorite one is the Rihanna one. Which song is she going to lead with? And I think there's a healthy debate to be had about it. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now to see all that sports betting has to offer. If you want to bet, it's sportsinteraction.com/STPN. Or in Ontario, you can download the app using the QR code on your screen. 19 plus, please play responsibly. The other person who did a big press conference yesterday was who?
Kyle Dubas.
Which people found
underwhelming
and potentially frustrating.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let me, I think the person who always sums it up perfectly is Acting the Foolman. And if you're a Leafs fan, you got to follow him. Actually, if you're just a fan, you got to follow him. But so basically, here's the big quote that was circulating. Some of the larger focus is always on bigger names, but we have to look at the people who may improve us overall, not just the big names per se. So what is Kyle Dubas saying when he says that?
Don't get your hopes up. I'm probably going to go out and get some random, and it's not going to be Timo Meier.
And so Acting the Foolman said, "Oh Christ, we're going to get Rick Dicklish in a third-round pick while the Bruins go out and get Timo Meier."
Rick Dicklish.
And then he said, "Look, Kyle, I know I like you and your patient team building, but it's time to put some chips in the middle of the goddamn table. Just for the record, if you want to have a long discussion about how Dubas is a failure as a GM, go have it with someone else. This tweet is expressing my feelings and also the pretext for me to use Rick Dicklish, a fake name, which made me laugh." Now,
that is also from the creator of Mark Donk and Buzz Flibbit.
That's right. He's a good name creator. He's a good random name generator from NHL.
Ridiculous.
And the thing about Fullerman is that if you are a fan of Masai or Kyle or both, you could still have frustrating moments with them. Yesterday was a frustrating moment for people that follow the Raptors. With Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri, it's always difficult to get a deal done with those guys. The Leafs are in a different position. It's difficult to do a deal with the Leafs because they're so always up against the cap, right? And unwilling to spend, apparently, a first or Matthew Nyes or both for at least a rental. And so I think some of the negativity from Raptors Twitter spilled over and just became negativity on Toronto sports Twitter. There was a lot of people saying, "Oh, the Leafs are fucked." And I'm like, wait a second. Let's look at that. Let's look at that quote one more time. Quote, "Some of the larger focus is always on the bigger names, but we have to look at the people who may improve us overall and not just the big names per se." Of course you do. That's the GM's job. You have to look at overall improvement. But nowhere in there does he say, "Hey, we're not swinging for it this year."
Yeah, we're not going out and getting any of the big names.
So here's an example of a GM who said, "We're not going out to get all the big names." Ken Holland. You can't go big every year.
He did say that.
A couple years ago with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl healthy in his lineup. He said, you can't go big every year.
And it's funny, similar position. The Leafs went out and they did that Foligno trade and it didn't work out because of an injury. And it scarred... I don't know about the front office, but it definitely scarred the fan base.
Sure.
Ken Holland's is Andreas Athanasiou.
Which was?
2 seconds, I believe.
And Athanasiou played maybe 4 games?
He played 9 and did nothing in them. And also gave up something for Mike Green, who played 3 games.
And then retired.
Yeah, but the very obvious asterisk there is COVID. Which... you shouldn't base your thought process on anything on one of the most unique happenings in sports history.
Right.
Right.
Like, everyone at that deadline got fucked. Everybody. Absolutely everybody.
Yep.
The Bruins spent a first-round pick on Andre Kase.
The only reason the Leafs didn't is because they had lost to a Zamboni driver several weeks before. They didn't make a move.
Absolutely everybody got screwed. Yeah, and who knows? That Zamboni driver... friggin' loss might have saved them from themselves.
Yes, probably.
So, like, Foligno was at very least, all right, let's go out and get this guy who hurt his fucking back, whatever. But you spend a bunch of picks on guys who don't end up really ever playing for you because the world stopped. I feel like it's a little different.
It is.
And Mike Green opted out of the bubble, if I remember correct.
Is that right?
Yeah, because it was an option to... They didn't force players to go.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, you know what? Fuck that.
How about I
And
just
he
hang with
didn't
my
go.
family and I'm a millionaire and it doesn't matter anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him. Like, whatever.
So here's the thing. Dubas is he's a process guy.
Yes.
Process guys are frustrating because
Yes.
process guys consistently do exactly what they've always done because it's part of the process.
He is process guy, painfully so.
And I was accused of saying that I'm trying to pump up like the Maple Leafs trade rumors yesterday on Twitter. I was accused of this because it's good for our show. That I really personally believe, and even CJ put out an article this morning saying the Leafs aren't shopping for shiny things. They're not.
Yeah.
I personally believe that I think they're going to take a swing. I think there's a swing coming.
We did an unnecessarily long, 20-minute segment on the Leafs getting Lafferty and McCabe.
Yeah, we
Stop
did.
it.
Well,
Stop it.
But I also want to say that I do think that they're going to do that. But do you expect Kyle Dubas to come out and say it? This is why I think it relates back to the Raptors. Because the Raptors had already finished and they did next to nothing, right? They got a big man. Good.
Yeah. Dubas goes, yep, I'm swinging for the fences. Now it's on him to...
Swing for the fences.
Every team he's negotiating with is jacking up the price.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't succeed at getting his guy, the whole fan base calls him a failure.
What's the famous quote from 32 Thoughts right after John Tavares signed?
We can and we will.
Explain the context.
So it was basically like, hey, Kyle, how are you going to be able to sign everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Some people say you won't be able to sign everyone or something like that. And he said, we can and we will. And from that moment on, he was hamstrung, had to sign all those guys.
And the agents were like, great, writing that one down. Cool.
And
they made it hell for him. Starting with Nylander.
Absolute hell. I can't remember if Nylander was before or after. I think
he was after. That was that same summer. Tavares and Nylander was an RFA.
Yeah. I saw there was a clip of me going around on TikTok where I was talking about Nylander after a particularly bad game I had, and now he's doing very well. The important context is the year I had that rant against Nylander, he held out for 2 months and then scored 7 goals.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you pull a take from 5 years ago, it's
yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing? But anyway, Jess,
Whatever.
what do you want to say here? I know. I feel like you're about to jump in.
No, I wasn't going to say about the Nylander thing. No, that Nylander negotiations with Dubas, like that when you look back on it, I look at that as unforgivable, the way he handled it.
Yeah.
Because
wait, who?
Dubas.
Yeah.
Because at the end, he gave him everything he wanted, and that could have all happened in September. Like, at the end, he just said, okay, here it is, have it.
And it ruined the whole season.
Why did we waste? It was 3 months, right? Because it's September through to December.
Well, yeah, I'm going like regular season.
And Nylander, and that team that year was just off.
Yeah.
They're a bit off. I mean, they were better than the year after it, but it was a bit off, right?
Some guys had like really good seasons. If that was Tavares' first year.
No, that was a good year. It was the next year where going into COVID.
Right.
The 1920 season.
No,
they lost to Ayers.
That wouldn't have been the same year. The COVID year is in the year Nylander.
No. I'm talking about that's the year before. So that did well. And then the following year when Marner held out right to training camp.
Yes.
And then he signed.
So we get the Nylander year, and that was a dark cloud over the organization for the rest of the season.
Yes.
Like the fan base couldn't get a hold of this team. Like they couldn't get on board with this team. And then the Marner thing happens on top of that. And then we get to Marner and we're like, okay, we're going to do this again. And then finally Marner signs.
Every year it was torture.
It was every year. And I think Dubas really, he tied his hands behind his back by saying, we're going to sign them.
No,
and
that was the first Tavares year. So you have all these guys, Marner, 94 points going into a contract year. Tavares, 88 points, 47 goals. Matthews had 37 when only playing 68 games because he missed a bunch. I think that was the Trouba hit year. That was the year Riley had 72 points. Kapanen had a 20-goal season. Kadri did have an off season, but Johnson even had 20 goals. That was Hyman's first 20-goal season. So many guys were having like the best season of their lives. And then there's Willie down there farting away with 54 games played, 7 goals, 27 points.
Wasn't good. That's what I'm saying. So that was the pre-COVID year. And then Marner's contract's up and then he signs. And so what I'm saying in all this is, guys, I understand after what happened with Masai and Bobby, who, in my opinion, and listen, they know fucking way more about basketball than I do. I think they made a mistake yesterday. I think they believe in their guys, and I think sometimes you get too close to the painting to see all the full picture, right?
Yeah.
I think they made a mistake, and I think that's the consensus on Raptors Twitter. Now, if they go on a heater, fuck me, right? That's what I'm cheering for. But I'm thinking with the Leafs,
you go on a heater to lose to the Celtics, you know, in round one, like whoopee.
But with the Leafs, I'm looking at this and going, Kyle Dubas has made this mistake before. We can and we will. What he should have said was, you know what? We're going to have to play it as it comes, which is a nothing answer to a tough question that never gets requoted. We'll just have to play it as it comes. We'll have to take it situation by situation. And if you look at the way Kyle Dubas has handled the media since, first off, he's only ever available like 4 times a year, right? He's rarely ever interviewed.
And there's never any runway leading up to it.
It's like he's doing it now.
Yeah, no, you find out. Yeah, yesterday I think the runway was 3 hours, which, like, to the reporters, it's like, all right, you better get here.
Right.
Right. I was at a Marley's practice once that all of a sudden every reporter was at, and I was like, why is everyone here? This is Marley's practice. Mm-hmm. It's usually me and like a couple other people, and it's like, oh no, Dubas is doing an availability today, and we were all like, what? Holy shit.
Yeah. I understand the negativity. I get where it comes from. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I want him to come out and go, fucking right. We're firing it all at the wall, baby. Let's go.
But it makes his life hard.
It makes and it makes the asking price go up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's already the Toronto Maple Leafs. You pay a tax for that.
Yep.
And I think at the end of the day, he had to kind of let the air out of the balloon so that if something big does happen, and I really still think that they must be thinking, we got to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, do the Toronto Maple Leafs honestly ask yourselves? They got to think, okay, we're at least close to par with Tampa in the regular season, perhaps not in the playoffs. But is Jake McCabe, let's say, I'm using him as an example, who's a very good defenseman, strong in his own right.
It kind of seems like a foregone conclusion.
Would make the team much better, certainly, the overall per se thing. Is Jake McCabe going to be the one that pushes you over the edge? No. And here's why I think they're going to do a big deal, because last year they almost did. Last year, it was almost Fleury and Hagel for 2 firsts and Matt Nyes. That was the trade. For some reason, somewhere, I believe in the Leafs front office, that was nixed.
Also, Hagel's unreal.
And that's the thing is, Hagel has eaten opponent. He ate the Leafs up last playoffs, and he's eaten people alive. I think he's got 42 points in 51 games or something. Listen, this guy has taken swings, will take swings. Let's have a little faith here, and I'm not just doing it for the clicks, guys. Yeah, the proof's in the pudding. The last time the Leafs drafted in the first round with their first pick, with their own first pick, was Timothy Liljegren in 2017. Don't tell me they haven't gone out and tried to get better and tried to do these things. Not everything's been gone at the trade deadline, but Kevin Papetti pointed that out, and he's right. They have not drafted with their own first-round pick since Timothy Liljegren.
Oh, because Amirov was the Penguins. Oh, I was like, no, that's not right. Apparently it's right.
Also, I liked Stephen A. Smith's clip from earlier where he said, if you're a really good team, your first-round pick's not worth that much.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and like even if the Leafs get knocked out in the first round, you're talking like mid-20s. Mm-hmm. 25th.
Yeah, this is a 4th place in the league team right now.
And the Leafs draft really well in the second round. Look what they've done.
4th place team in the league, might finish 3rd in the division. Please kill me.
Crazy.